önce teşekkür ederim tabii bu.
First of all, I'd like to thank Chatham House for giving me the opportunity to talk again here. As you said earlier, a moment ago, I was honored with as being the winner of the Chatham House winner since in 2010, and I carry this honor with me. The greatest change in the region, especially more recently, in recent years, is the fact that the region became even more unstable. The stability has deteriorated even more. Maybe I should take you to the first Gulf War years, in which time the only great true risk was Saddam Hussein. But when we look at it now, yes, he has been defeated, but all the problems in the region increased in size and volume. Yes, the problems are being dealt with individually, but when we look at the real problem, there has been no improvement. Maybe the greatest issue for the world since the Second World War is the Palestine issue, not being able to establish peace in the Middle East, in Palestine, and this is acting as the initiator of problems in other places, other parts of the world, and some are exploiting this issue for other purposes. At the time, the President Reagan and Gorbachev had started a good process. In fact, the Resolution 687 of the United Nations was passed, which foresaw the getting rid of all mass destruction weapons in the region. But when we look at the region now, we don't see a positive development and improvement, and in fact, on the contrary, suffering has been suffered. And we see, importantly, that some countries, in England and other countries, Britain and other countries are amongst those. There's recently a new stance in relation to the Palestine issue. I guess frustration, disappointment in relation to the regional issue. I think disappointment or frustration is a good way of defining this reaction. So the cumulative problems post-Saddam Hussein have affected one another, as if the Pandora's box had been opened and new problems came to surface. I'm expecting that you might ask me about this, or there are elite participants here in the hall who might ask me these questions about IS and other developments in the region. They all came out of that box. So what will come out of that box tomorrow could be a bit of a surprise. On the other hand, it shouldn't be a surprise. It won't be a surprise for me if that happens, because the region is capable, and the climate in the region is capable of producing such results. Uncertainties have increased in the region, and Turkey, being a neighbor to the area in question, gives discomfort to Turkey. Sometimes questions are asked, what is Turkey doing? First of all, Turkey in its region would prefer to establish and protect stability and peace in the area. Certain things can be expected and may not be expected, but when you look at Turkey, Turkey's whole effort, whole desire is establishing peace and stability in the region. If you like, this is the way I've summarized, and I have drawn rather pessimistic picture, but that is a realistic way of looking at it. But if there are a few positive developments. For example, a new stream in Europe. Perhaps we can call that a new trend in Europe about Palestine, and subsequent to chemical weapons in Syria, Syria being cleared of chemical weapons. That's a positive response, development, and the coalition that's been formed against IS. And we can see that when you use hard force, military force against such problems, you do get results very quickly. And the relationship between Iraqi Kurdish administration and Baghdad, and the warming, positively taming of the relationship between the two, are positive developments in the region, next to the greater disappointment, frustration in the area.
Specifically, as you brought up IS, Islamic State, do you think that this is just another insurgency? Or does it reflect something which is much more dangerous for Turkey, which is the breakdown of states that were your neighbors, the breakdown of governments that you used to be able to negotiate with? You had a good relationship with Syria, with the Assad government in your time. What it would appear, at least to yourself, is that part of this new phenomenon is that we cannot go back to the old system, that maybe Baghdad will not control all of Iraq again. Damascus will not control all of the space of Syria again. That in a way you will not have a neighborhood that looks like states and governments. Is this what you fear?
Önce tabii bu IŞİD meselesinin sadece Türkiye ile ikili.
Of course, I wouldn't view IS problem a bilateral problem involving Turkey and IS. It's a humanity problem for humanity in the region. Of course, Turkey is more deeply involved because of its proximity to the problem area. This is what I'd like to say about IS. About 2 or 3 years ago, no one was talking about IS, or 4 years ago, no one wanted to talk about it. But if you look at 2006, if you investigate into, they were making announcements, declarations in 2006, and they were talking about borders, how the borders were going to be reshaped, and they were using a program, making historical links, Arab people in Iraq and Syria, and especially taking advantage of the Sunni population's feelings, talking about the south in this way, and then when it came to north, they were talking about the way it was being split and divided. So using such arguments, they were preparing the people, the population, in this way, priming, if you like. But no one was reacting or talking about this. Another positive development in Iraq is the formation of a more inclusive government, new government, which has appreciated now, although belatedly, the problems, the mistakes of the past. And the previous government was excluding the Sunni population, which was one of the primary factors of Iraq. So various radical elements that came to the region from other parts of the world, and the newly formed group have taken the people hostage. Those who had experienced the fact that they were being excluded, and some were thinking about feeling that way. Others were concerned that Iraq was being influenced Iran, and so when people, such emotions grew in people, and when they were led to practice, to perform freely, this outcome was inevitable. When IS had not feloniously killed an American citizen, perhaps such attention would not have been attracted to the region. I never thought anyone to desire such a picture, such for a reality. Who in their human awareness want to have or accept such a group? And they did gain power, strength, and when people gain power, they start to act in a Maximilian way. And when they did so, when they went to the extreme of the extreme, they attracted attention and they have been stopped, paused. Of course, the despicable murders they commit, which we have all witnessed, we felt deep sadness. Of course, we have criticized what they did. Of course, the costs are high. Pain suffered. Many people died.
People were not just afraid of IS because of its violence. They were afraid as well because they thought Baghdad might fall. They thought Baghdad might collapse. So it's not just their violence that attracted attention. It was the realization of how weak the government appeared to be in Iraq.
Yani şu ayrımı iyi yapmamız lazım.
We need to be able to make the distinction between, talking about Islamic State, they used caliphate, all these seemingly Islamic images or elements. It is obvious, statistics show that they do not have a positive image amongst Muslim countries, Muslim masses. Muslim people, on the contrary, hate IS, and they react to them because they present Islam in such a horrific way. So they are a group who exploit the status quo, de facto position. It's a political movement. It is a mistake to look at it from as if it's a religious movement. We will have been mistaken, and we will find ourselves employing the wrong methods in our struggle against them. And using wrong methods will create other forces to surface. So it is important to make that distinction. I never thought that there is a serious ideological threat in the region, that in terms of Turkey or others. But of course, there is a terrorist presence in the region. It's an area where terrorists are being trained, and it's an area with such a capacity, and it's not. It doesn't present risks just for the region. The risks are faced in Europe, and we do know that people come to that region from all around the globe. They, I guess, somehow satisfy themselves by doing that. We do know about the murdering of 2 soldiers in Canada. Yes, there is a link in region. There are sick people with sick psychologies, coming from broken families, and they come to the area with their feelings of spite, revenge, hatred, and they do create results.
Let me turn you to a different question. Your other big neighbor, or big neighborhood, is Russia. And here's another relationship that, at least from the West's point of view, the United States, the EU, has become much, much more complicated since you were president. Since you won the Chatham House Prize. You saw, in your term as president, the relationship go wrong. How does Turkey, how do you think about your relationship with Russia today?
I'm sure you can see, Turkey is in the center of all the developments, all the events. We are talking about the south, now the north of the problems. We are talking about the north of the region. We do have a problem of being proximate to the area. We do have historical relationship links to Russia. During the Cold War era, Turkey has been a very important wing of NATO, and we defended free world against Russia, Soviet communism, Soviet Union, and we do not have the same world today, but none of these have been forgotten, no doubt. Our alliance is quite obvious where we stand in terms of our alliance. Of course, we do work to improve our neighborly relations, and we do buy a large part of our gas from Russia. So in winter, we are dependent on the Russian gas to feel warm in winter. And although we are trying to diversify the sources. So we have this instability to our south. Now we are extremely uncomfortable because of the instability or discomfort that's coming from the north of our country, because Middle East has always had the complications, so we were quite somehow used to that experience. But the Russia and Ukraine issue is a deep issue, and it's one of the most serious issues that NATO faces. The meetings involving NATO, Russia, Ukraine meetings, these are taken very seriously by our country. But this is not just an issue of Ukraine and Russia. Everybody knows that it has caused serious discomfort to many countries in the region, Baltics, the Balkans, Caucasus, all the way to the Central Asia. All of these countries in those regions suddenly took lessons from these events, and their comprehension has changed. So creating a de facto situation in Crimea, including it to Russia, and seemingly everyone accepting the de facto situation, has created a very a situation full of tension. Which way will it develop? We don't know, but of course our wish is for it not to go even worse.
Make you think differently about your potential gas relationships towards the south, and in particular towards the Mediterranean. There are many new discoveries of gas in the eastern Mediterranean. This could be an effective alternative source of supply if Russia is more unpredictable. You were involved even in the Cyprus question in your time as president. Do you think the developments with Russia are changing Turkey's attitude towards its energy security? Could this have a positive impact on relationships with Greece and Cyprus?
I'd like to say that in terms of energy security, Turkey has started to achieve that by sourcing energy from Caucasus, as you know, from Iran and other routes, other sources. But both for us and for... I'd like to look at this issue from a point of view of Turkey as well as Europe. Now, Eastern Mediterranean source, I believe, is going to be an important source. It will help to establish stability in Eastern Mediterranean areas, and I have always defended this view, and our state policies have been directed in this direction during my presidency. And the gas around Cyprus, the gas near the coast of Israel, and I can say that the most feasible way of carrying that gas to Europe would be through Turkey. So when a constructive approach is taken, a win-win situation will come, and this will help establish stability in Eastern Mediterranean. The issue of gas, pipeline issues are not simple economic actions. These are political, strategic issues. When on the one hand, you can use that as a threat, which gives you power, but on the other hand, you can use it to help establish peace and stability. This is one of the issues that Turkey is a priority for Turkey.
Thank you very much.